Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Playbook co-author Rachael Bade. It's Thursday, October 17th, and we are now less than 3 weeks out from Election Day. And I've got to say, Kamala Harris right now is really showing how bad she wants this job. I got to say, after a blitz for mostly friendly shows and podcasts last week, she ventured into the Fox Den last night for a sit down with Bret Baier. It was contentious, to say the least. And Harris, she got a little bit mad and pissed off, which we're going to get to in a minute. Trump, meanwhile, he's out there doing media appearances, sure, but he's not taking as many risks right now as Harris. Yesterday, he had engaged in a town hall with women, which obviously is a tough demographic for him. But it turns out that that audience was chock full of Trump supporters, giving him this sort of friendly face to perform to. We are going to talk about all of that today and what it means for each of these candidates' campaigns. And joining me to do that is the one, the only Eugene Daniels, my co-author on Playbook. Hey, Eugene.
Hey, girl. Hey, girl. How are you?
I'm good. I'm ready for the campaign to be over. But
will it be
alas,
over? When? I feel like we keep saying
it's
3 weeks, but like maybe 4 weeks. In my head, it's a month out. Like, and we'll
going
be
to be
good.
a while. I think it's
Yeah.
longer than a month, Eugene. I mean,
Aw.
everyone's like, okay, these weeks must be crazy for you. And I'm like, actually, I feel like on election day, that's when everything actually starts. That's when shit's going to hit the fan.
God,
So
that's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
yeah, breathe now while you can. So let's start with Harris's Fox
Yeah.
News interview. I want to first say that this obviously was risky, right, Eugene? You know this. Not many
Yes.
Democratic leaders go on Fox these days because they don't think they're going to get a fair shake. And
Mhm.
that's especially true this close to an election when she
Yeah.
has a lot to lose. How do you think that went for her?
Yeah. I mean, first, I think you're smart to go, right? Especially for someone like Harris, who, if you're trying to get voters to see you who haven't seen or heard from you, maybe ever, like actually heard you ever, then Fox is a perfect place to do that.
Yeah.
Brett's a fair, really tough interviewer, right? So you're going to get a lot of credit there. So I think it was smart. I think her team. I've talked to a few people after they feel good. It was contentious, which part of the problem that women face when they run for president is that people don't think they're tough, right?
Right.
And so if you can have moments where you look like you're kind of a badass and you can go toe to toe with someone who's like coming at you contentiously, like that's good for you, and that's kind of how they feel today. So just going on there was probably the best part, and then she performed pretty well, right? Like I've been watching her do interviews and have interviewed her for almost 4 years now, as vice president. And like it was one of her best kind of performances, right? Like I know there's questions about whether she answered this question enough, why she didn't say this or that. But when you're looking at kind of like the holistic, what do you want out of an interview? She kind of gave you that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think showing her adversarial side and
Yeah.
that she was able to take charge of that exchange, those
Immediately.
conversations. Yeah, I mean, he did interrupt her quite a
Yeah.
bit. Clearly, he thought she
Mhm.
was, going to her talking points, reverting to her talking points, and he was trying to throw her off. But she was like, "Excuse me, I'm talking. Let me make my
As
point."
someone who's interviewed her multiple times, interrupting her
You don't like
it's,
that?
it's a hard game to play, baby. It is a tough game to play.
And I will say that she constantly pivoted to Trump, right? Like in
Yes.
her answers. I thought she did really well on that. Trump's own vice president, his fellow
Chief of
people who served in the
staff.
staff, cabinet members saying he's too dangerous to lead. Trump blocking the bipartisan border bill.
Yeah.
Trump saying he's going to sick the American military on his enemies, including people on the left.
Yeah.
She was really effective in that.
Yeah.
So
Even
I agree.
even when he asked her about Joe Biden, right? Like
Right.
he wanted to talk about Joe Biden, and when she felt like Joe Biden started missing a step, and immediately she turned it into a like Joe Biden's not on the ballot, Donald Trump is, right? Which is like something that is a deft move that Harris in year one, year and a half one probably wouldn't have done, right? Like it would have been maybe a little clumsier. So like they've been doing some prep. the
Yeah,
prep
she's
the
gotten a
prep's
lot
looking
smoother on
different.
this. There's
Yeah,
no doubt
yeah.
about it. What would you say was her strongest moment, Eugene?
I think her strongest moment was, and the thing that maybe her team is going to put in ads or at least send around to reporters is this is not going to be a Joe Biden 2.0, right?
Mm,
Like he asked her the question that everyone's kind of trying to get at, which is like, will it be any different? Will you do anything different? What is the policy that would change under a Kamala Harris presidency? And she answered, she threw in a few couple of things. I think it was a better answer than she's been giving, which is like nothing, right? Like that has been, that's the answer for a while. So she was more clear about what she would change. But most importantly, that little section where she's like, this is not going to be the second administration of Joe Biden. I think like a lot of Democrats and most importantly, people watching Fox News, Republicans and independents are going to want to hear that.
She made this note at one point. She said, I haven't spent a majority of my career in DC. And I was like,
A little
ooh.
shady. I don't know how's that little
But
Oval
that's what
Office
voters want
meeting
to
gonna
hear.
go?
They don't like
Exactly.
career politicians anymore. So
Exactly.
as much as she can to separate herself from the man who's been here for a century is probably good for her. I
Exactly.
actually thought, Eugene, her strongest moment, or one of them, was during the transgender question. Bret
Hmm.
Baier quizzed her about taxpayer funded sex changes for prisoners and played this clip of her saying she supports it. And she was ready for that. I mean,
Yeah.
right away, she said under Donald Trump's administration, basically prison officials approved the same thing. And there was a story that had just come out in the New York Times
Mhm.
a few hours before
Interesting
this.
timing, huh?
Yeah, very much. It also comes, as Republicans are spending tons of money right now on these ads, trying to, link Democrats to various transgender issues that, frankly, a lot of swing voters are a little uncomfortable with. So they're trying to attack them in that way. And I thought that what she said was very effective, bringing it back to Donald Trump. But she did another thing. She went further than that. And she said something along the lines about how this was a, quote, quite remote issue. She basically was taking Bret Baier to task for asking about this. I think it was like topic number 3, but saying like the American public has a lot more important things on their mind right now: the economy, crime, how they're going to pay their bills, their mortgages, etc. And she basically, was slamming Republicans for making this the closing message, which I actually thought was really smart on her end.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things, concerns, quote unquote, about transgender people is something that has come up in like the tail end of elections for a while now, right? Like we saw it in 2022. It's where they're spending a lot more money. The conversation never stops, but they're spending a lot more money now. And what she was saying is y'all spend a lot money and time talking about this, but on the list of issues that voters actually talk about in polling, it's not up there. And more importantly, the thing about kind of I guess cultural war issues is that sometimes the people that are being attacked are like a very small group of folks, right? And so the thing that Republicans have been trying to do for a long time is make transgender people the scary boogeyman and woman that's going to come at you and get your kids and your kid's gonna leave home and go to school and come back wearing
Come
a
back as a
dress, right?
different, yes,
Which is
a
what
different
Trump has
gender.
said
Yeah.
over and over and over again. And spending all that time and money on a small group, right? That's a question of like, okay, what are you trying to do here? Okay, you want to talk about this, you want to spend money on this. What are you trying to do? You're trying to make a small group of people who many people have not interacted with, those kinds of like transgender people, gender non-conforming people, non-binary people, and you're trying to make them scarier. I thought it was an interesting way to kind of get out of that question. A question that, really early. I think what'd you say, number 3 in
It was
in the
topic number
conversation?
3, definitely not
Very
question number 3, but
no,
yeah. Mhm.
yeah, but like very early on in the interview.
Yeah. What about our worst moments, Eugene? Anything that jumped out that you said, oh, she could have hit back, sharper on that one?
I think the very first question on immigration, I think she kind of got to a place that made a lot of sense. But he came in asking about basically, why did you guys wait? That's the central line of questioning was, why did you guys wait so long to actually care about this issue, right? And it's something that she's kind of answered before, but didn't go to those talking points this time. He hit a little too hard, maybe, when he was like, "Do you owe them an apology?" Like the families of these women who've been killed by undocumented immigrants, allegedly. But I think the thing that her team's probably gonna kind of look back on and maybe feel a little iffy about, or at least the Trump people are going to spend a lot of time talking about, is like that basically like that Joe Biden was fine and that she saw him and he was great and fine, right? Like that thing is still out there and voters still care about that. How many, I don't know, but I think the Trump people are going to spend a lot of time doing that because they, other than Donald Trump, his team has been trying to tie the two of them tighter and tighter together as time has gone on.
Yeah, and that does get to a question of, trustworthiness. I mean, a lot of people, when they saw Joe Biden on the debate stage, said, wow, this guy's
What the
clearly
hell?
lost a step,
Yeah, some of his team did.
and
They're
so
like,
for people
wow.
to go out there and sort of say, what? Nothing's wrong. He's doing a great job. It felt like sort of gaslighting, the media and people who were asking questions. So yeah, you're right. Definitely a vulnerability for her. But I want to zoom out a little bit, Eugene, because last week I interviewed Sarah Longwell at the Bulwark for Deep Dive. She's done
Yeah.
hundreds of these focus groups with swing voters and undecided voters. And her advice to Harris as this race really tightens in the final days was focus almost exclusively on your base. She was saying, call your daddy, the podcast, very friendly host there who had Harris on, what was it, a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
Do it every day if you have to, every damn day. But basically turn out those women, turn out the base, and that's how you're going to win. And yet this week, we really see Harris reaching for a more Democrat skeptical voter.
Yeah.
What's happening here? What's the campaign doing? And I'm curious, as somebody who's covering her campaign, do you think that this is the smartest thing that she should be doing, or should she be focusing more on that base?
She has had to do two things at the same time that you typically aren't doing at this, what is it, October 17th of an election year. Still introducing yourself to people, right? You're still introducing yourself to people, and you're getting your base riled up and persuading them, right? And so she's doing all of these things at the same time. So I think it's probably smart to get out there, right? They're clearly leaning into Republicans. Of course, going on Fox News makes a lot of sense if you're a campaign that's doing that. She also is going to the Philly suburbs for the first time this week, right?
Right.
She's mostly been spending a lot of time in Pennsylvania trying to go to those places that folks typically don't go to, the Democrats don't go to, rural areas, pulling down Trump's margin there, hopefully, in their mind. You go to those Philly suburbs, maybe that shows that maybe they feel a little nervous about the Philly suburbs, right? Or are they trying to juice it? So there's a lot of things that could be going on at once. Is it the smartest thing? Hell, I don't know.
It feels
I
like
think
playing whack-a-mole,
it's
right?
whack-a-mole. The
The
base.
black men here. Okay, now we're gonna go for the
White
suburban
ladies
women
over
and the
here.
white ladies. Yes. So,
Yeah,
the Republicans.
it
Yeah.
is over and over trying to figure out what constitutes a Harris coalition, right?
Yeah.
And one of the strongest parts of her argument is that no one, Republicans, Democrats, independents, and people who don't care about politics should want Donald Trump in office. That is that is what she's saying. I think if it was like the last week, maybe it'd be a little confusing, but like I don't think she's going to be doing any more Fox News interviews.
She should, man. It was very interesting,
right? But
very
then
refreshing too.
there's only so many people I think that she's going to go, that her team would trust to do that kind of interview.
Right. I think it was good for Fox and good for her. It was good for both of them. We got to talk
We're gonna
about
get in
Donald Trump. We
trouble.
got to talk
Yes.
about Donald Trump. So he's done some tough interviews recently. He sat down earlier this week with Bloomberg, who the reporter who really challenged him on tariffs. But by and large, Eugene, he's staying in safe places.
Yeah.
His town hall with women clearly had a conservative bend, even before CNN reported that it was full of Trump supporters. You could tell. I mean, the first abortion question didn't come until 40 minutes into the event. Come on. Trans issues came up before abortion. So I guess I'm curious, what do you make of his strategy right now? Obviously, he canceled a Squawk Box interview earlier this week. He's been focusing mostly on his rallies, Truth Social, the Bro podcast, etc., and then doing a few mainstream interviews. Smart or dumb on his part?
I don't know if it's smart or dumb. I think it shows it is not a strategy if you're trying to expand the people that want to vote for you, right? He is not trying to open up the tent. The campaign isn't really trying to expand the kinds of folks that they want to vote for them, even now, because people are already voting now until November 5th. And I think that's been very clear that at the end of the day, they are trying to juice up the base. They are doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on men, right? They're double, triple, quadrupling down on white men. It is something that they're going to do over and over and over again. And they know that he has vulnerabilities with women, but it also seems like they don't seem like they feel like they can fix it. So why waste the time, right? Which is a different tactic than Harris has.
Well, that's why I was actually surprised he did the town hall with women, but these were like
the Trump
said, they were the Trump supporters, right?
Right.
I actually feel like, as much criticism as he's gotten for, being too chicken to do the 60 Minutes interview or canceling the Squawk Box thing, this feels, from some Republicans I have talked to, like the smarter play that he should sort of avoid these things.
But he just looks so angry otherwise, right? Like
Yeah, and then you get those headlines,
the
right?
NABJ interview,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Like he looked pissed. He was angry for 30 minutes when it could have been a moment where he like, did some outreach to black voters through the space that he was at, but he like couldn't get there. And so it is a block in his head.
Yeah, instead, was that where he questioned whether Harris was actually black? I can't
The very
remember.
first, that was his very first answer. That wasn't what Rachel Scott asked him at all, but that was his answer to the very
Oh,
first
yeah.
question.
So,
Yeah.
but these are perfect examples of why
Mhm.
Republicans want him to play the safe strategy and not be out there. I mean, even from that Bloomberg interview, the top headlines were Trump refuses to commit to a peaceful transfer of power and doubles down on tariffs, which, as we all know, economists say are going to spike prices for American consumers. All right. I am going to ask one last thing, quick and easy, Eugene. What
Scared.
advisor do you think is happy today or pissed today based on something Harris or Trump did in the past 24 hours?
I know that the Harris people are happy,
Yeah.
right? I think
With
they
the
feel like
Fox
with the
choice.
Fox choice, with the Fox
Yeah.
interview, I feel like they put their. You know what? I'm gonna read a quote from someone close to Harris. I'm gonna read it right now,
Oh,
live and in
please
color. Here we
do.
go. Quote. She went into the lion's den and Bret performed as Fox on steroids with constant interruptions and 20 minutes of attempted Fox style gotchas. And she schooled him in their eyes, shut him down, got hits in that Fox's audience literally never gets to hear. Like Millie saying Trump is a fascist, his own people abandoning him. So they feel good about just the fact that she got on there. And, after the interview, Bret and some of the Fox reporters and anchors talked about the interview. And at the very end, one of the co-hosts of the the five, the former congressman, said it was good for everybody. That's what they're hearing, and that's what they're seeing, and so they feel good. I don't know
Yeah.
that anyone's pissed. People should be more pissed around here in this campaign. Comes to me,
I'm
happy
pissed that I'm
people.
not getting enough sleep, Eugene. How about
I know
that?
I'm pissed about that.
Let's
I'm
go take a
pissed about
nap.
that.
For more thoughts on this and for what else you need to know today, read Playbook this morning at politico.com/playbook. I'm Rachael Bade. Thanks for listening.